This is the VOA Special English Development Report. The World Health Organization is using a new combination of drugs to treat human African trypanosomiasis disease, also known as sleeping sickness. The drugs nifurtimox and eflornithine will be given out in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Officials from the Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative say the new treatment has fewer side effects. It is also more effective and less costly than the drugs traditionally used. In addition, the new treatment reduces the number of injections needed, and it shortens the amount of time patients must spend in the hospital. Sleeping sickness threatens millions of people in 36 countries in Africa. Most live in poor rural areas. The disease is caused by the trypanosoma parasite. It is spread to humans through the bite of infected tsetse flies. Common signs of sleeping sickness include fever, headaches, extreme tiredness and pain in the muscles and joints. Early identification of the disease may be difficult because many infected people do not show any immediate symptoms. Over time, the parasites invade the central nervous system. The disease causes sleep disorders, mental confusion, personality changes, speech problems, seizures, and coma. If left untreated, sleeping sickness kills. The World Health Organization estimates that about 60,000 people are currently infected with the disease. It develops in two different forms. Trypanosoma gambiense is responsible for 90% of the reported cases of sleeping sickness. People infected with this form may develop the disease over many years without any major symptoms. The disease develops more quickly over a few weeks or months in people infected with Trypanosoma rhodesiense. Until now, the drug melarsoprol was used to treat patients in the advanced stage of sleeping sickness. But the drug requires many painful injections several times a day for several weeks. It also causes bad side effects, some of which can be deadly. In Uganda, a new study has confirmed earlier research linking the spread of sleeping sickness to infected farm animals. The writers of the study have called for stronger rules requiring cattle to be treated before being sold at market. The study was published in the Public Library of Science. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. The World Health Organization has begun to use a new vaccine against polio. Officials say it will become a major tool in the campaign to end a disease that mainly affects children under age 5. The new formulation is known as BOPV, or Bivalent Oral Polio Vaccine. It was used for the first time in December in a polio immunization campaign in Afghanistan. Carol Pandak is with the Polio Plus program of the service organization Rotary International. She explains that health workers have been using what are called trivalent vaccines in some places. These are areas like Afghanistan where more than one kind of polio virus exists. There are 3 types of polio virus. The trivalent vaccine is least effective against type 3, more effective against type 1, and highly effective against type 2. As a result, few new cases of type 2 have been reported since 1999. This has led to greater use of monovalent vaccines to protect against either type 1 or type 3 polio. But Carol Pandak says the monovalent vaccine is not enough in areas with both kinds of polio. Rod Curtis at the World Health Organization in Geneva says the new bivalent vaccine solves this problem. Carol Pandak says tests found the new vaccine to be 30% more effective than the trivalent vaccine. More than 30 new cases of polio were reported in Afghanistan last year. About half were type 1 and the others type 3. Rod Curtis says that shows the importance of the new vaccine targeting both viruses at once. Officials say similar vaccination campaigns are planned this year in India, Nigeria, and Pakistan. Intensive vaccination campaigns have reduced the number of new polio cases reported worldwide to fewer than 2,000 a year. The Global Polio Eradication Initiative says the number has fallen by 99% since 1988. Polio is highly infectious. The virus enters the body through the mouth, usually in food or water. It grows in the intestines and attacks the nervous system. One victim in 200 suffers permanent paralysis, usually in the legs. 5 to 10% of those victims die when their breathing muscles fail. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. You can comment on our reports at our website, voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. A new online service offers a simple way to let other people know how to say your name correctly. It lets others hear you say it yourself in your email. Today, more people from different cultures work, live, and study together. Some worry that having a difficult name could limit them. Just ask Sheetal Dubey. She and her husband came to the United States from India 7 years ago. She says, Sheetal is a very common Indian name, and in India, people would just know how to pronounce it. But I've been working here in the US for some time, and I realize people find it hard to pronounce. They haven't heard it before. Ms. Dubey was a user experience consultant for technology companies. She now owns a new company called AudioName. She came up with the idea after doing a presentation with someone she worked with. She says, "My colleague was Mary, and it was very easy for everyone in the room to say, you know, Mary's findings showed this. But it's very difficult to say Sheetal's findings showed this. So that's where this idea really stuck in my head. It's like, you know, what if I just have an audio name? And, you know, I put it in my email and they have a chance to hear it before they meet me. Ms. Dubé presented her idea at a business development conference in Portland, Oregon, earlier this year. It won the top award at the event called Startup Weekend Portland. The service is free. Ms. Dubé hopes her idea will help make introductions a little easier. People can put a recording of their name in their email signature, their Facebook page, their LinkedIn account, or their website. The Portland Seed Fund chose her idea as one of 126 startups to receive money and mentoring support from experts. Ms. Dubé left her job to start audioname.com. The site has been live since the middle of September. Marketing specialist Larry Shigoris is the author of The Secret to Getting a Job After College. He advises people with really difficult names to consider using a nickname in their job search. Sheetal Dubé says she heard advice like that while researching her idea. She thinks a service like AudioName offers a better choice. There are also sites like hearnames.com, where people can learn how to say names from around the world. On our site, voaspecialenglish.com, you can find a link to VOA's own pronunciation guide to names in the news. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. The Obama administration has announced a plan to protect Internet users in the United States. In February, the administration proposed what it calls a Consumer Privacy Bill of Rights. The bill is meant to give Americans more control over their personal information. President Obama said that never has privacy been more important than today, in the age of the Internet, the World Wide Web, and smartphones. Under the Privacy Bill of Rights, Americans would have more control over what personal data companies collect from them and how they use it. It also would require the companies to be more open about their privacy and security policies. Darren Hayes is head of the Computer Information Systems program at Pace University in New York. He says many countries in Europe and Asia already have online privacy laws in place. He called the proposed legislation in the United States long overdue and a step in the right direction. I think that in its present form, it looks very effective. The average online user does need more transparency and more control over the use of their information. Professor Hayes says the Consumer Privacy Bill of Rights would hold companies like Facebook and Google to a higher level of responsibility. I think in practical terms, it's going to make online companies more accountable for what they do. It also seeks to provide more transparency about how third parties are sharing their information and give the user, hopefully, the ability to opt out of having their information shared. The new measures are part of a larger government effort to improve online privacy. The administration has urged Congress to pass legislation in support of the measures. It also wants lawmakers to give the Federal Trade Commission and state officials additional powers to enforce them. Professor Hayes says the effectiveness of the bill will depend strongly on that. In a related development, a group of companies that make internet browsers agreed to support plans for adding do not track technology to their browsers. The group agreed not to use tracking information to target personalized ads to users who do not wish to be identified. The companies will, however, still collect the information. For VOA Special English, I'm Mario Ritter. You can find more stories about privacy and technology at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. World No Tobacco Day is celebrated each year on May 31st. The observance is meant to bring attention to the growing use of tobacco and its deadly effects. The World Health Assembly established the event in 1987. This year, special attention is being given to the harmful effects of tobacco marketing to women and girls. The World Health Organization says tobacco kills nearly 5.5 million people a year, another victim every 6 seconds. Tobacco use is a top cause of deaths worldwide. 1 billion people smoke. More than 80% of tobacco users live in low and middle-income countries. The WHO says the tobacco industry has increasingly directed its marketing campaigns at women and girls. Women currently represent about 20% of smokers, but tobacco use among girls is increasing. Data collected from 151 countries show that about 7% of young girls now smoke. That compares with 12% of boys. In some countries, however, the rates are almost equal. Almost 170 countries have signed a treaty called the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. The WHO is calling on those governments to ban tobacco advertising to the fullest extent possible and to do more to protect women. The agreement seeks to reduce the demand and supply of tobacco products. This year marks the 5th anniversary since the treaty went into effect. 80% of the signers have banned the sale of tobacco products to young people. 70% have required health warnings on tobacco products. The WHO estimates that tobacco use caused 100 million deaths in the 20th century. If current rates continue, that number could reach 1 billion in this century. Events were held in a number of countries to mark World No Tobacco Day. Many of the events were aimed at persuading people, especially the young, not to start smoking. Others aimed to educate people about the many health benefits of quitting. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. We have a link to a list of activities for World No Tobacco Day on our website, voaspecialenglish.com. And while you're there, tell us if you have been able to quit smoking and what advice you might have for others. You can also post comments on Facebook at VOA Learning English.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. On March 27th at 8:30 at night, all the lights were shut off at the Tokyo Tower in Japan. The Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, Germany went dark. So did the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. The Empire State Building in New York City shut off all its lights. So did buildings in other cities around the world. The lights stayed off for 1 hour for an event called Earth Hour. The observance was organized by a conservation group, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, also known as the World Wildlife Fund. For the 4th year, people were urged to turn off their lights for 1 hour to call attention to the issue of climate change. The group says climate change is one of the greatest threats facing wildlife and nature. The first Earth Hour was held in 2007 in Sydney, Australia. Organizers said more than 2,000 businesses and 2 million people took part. Since then, Earth Hour has grown into an international event. People in more than 4,000 cities in 88 countries took part last year. Organizers said more than 100 countries and territories promised their official support this year. This was the first Earth Hour for countries including Kuwait, Qatar, Kosovo, Madagascar, Nepal, Cambodia, and Panama. At least 19 of the 50 American states took part in the 2010 Earth Hour observance. The event organizers said that one of the last states to join was Missouri. Governor Jay Nixon shut off the lights in the dome of the state capitol building. He said, when it comes to saving energy and money, big changes start with small steps, like turning out the lights. Did you turn off your lights to observe Earth Hour? Do you think about what the organizers call your environmental footprint and try to reduce harmful effects? Is climate change a concern for you? Here is a chance to practice your English. Go to our website, voaspecialenglish.com. You can comment on this story and other programs. You can share your thoughts and read what other people are saying. You can also find transcripts, MP3s, podcasts, and caption videos. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report.
I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Technology Report. A report by the Consumer Electronics Association says electronics were among the most popular gifts bought this holiday season. It also predicted that spending on these devices would set new records. The CEA said consumers were expected to spend an average of about $230 on electronics. This is 5% more than in 2009 and the highest level since the organization began keeping records of holiday spending. Jim Barry is a spokesman for the Consumer Electronics Association. He said the CEA study found that electronics represented 3 of the top 5 things on its holiday gift wish list in 2010. He said notebook computers are at the top, followed by iPads and then e-readers. iPad is a touchscreen tablet computer, and that's really the big player in that category. The computer company Apple began selling its small touchscreen computers in April. People use the touchscreen computers to surf the web, write emails, watch movies, and read books. Since the iPad's release, several other companies came out with their own tablet computers just in time for Christmas. A report from the eMarketer Research Group predicts that worldwide tablet sales will reach more than 81 million in 2012. Still, Jim Barry says these devices faced tough competition from another Christmas favorite. He said, another hot category right behind that are the e-readers. So you can read on an iPad or a touchscreen tablet, but the e-book readers are less expensive. The Kindle is the market leader there from Amazon. But you also have the Nook from Barnes & Noble and the e-reader from Sony. Jim Barry says modern technology is changing the way people relate and increasing their expectations for their electronic devices. He said, it's really the ability to take your information and entertainment with you just about anywhere, to stay connected to your work and your family. The Consumer Electronics Association report found that iPod music players were also in high demand this holiday season. So were video game systems and digital cameras. But not all of the things on the holiday gift wish list involved electronics. The one thing that people wanted most, Jim Barry said, at the top of the list was peace and happiness. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. What do Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Larry Ellison have in common? They all made billions of dollars in technology, and they all left college. Now, a wealthy businessman is paying other technologically talented young people to follow that same path. Peter Thiel is paying them to drop out, or at least to stop out of higher education temporarily to work on their interests. He and his Thiel Foundation have announced the first group of what they call 20 under 20 Thiel Fellows. He says, we selected people on the basis of a combination of having demonstrated intense passion about science and technology, and then having the drive to try to carry it forward in the years ahead. There are 24 people to be exact, because a couple of projects involve more than one person. One of the youngest is Laura Deming. At 12, she began researching ways to extend human life. Now, at 17, she has already graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. 18-year-old John Marbach just finished high school. He hopes to use web tools to bring classrooms into the digital age. He plans to attend one semester of college before he begins his fellowship. Each of the fellows will receive $100,000 over 2 years to continue their research. They will also receive help from experts. Peter Thiel has a lot of experience with technology startup businesses. He helped create the electronic payment system PayPal. He was also one of the first investors in Facebook. He himself is a graduate of Stanford University and Stanford Law School in California. But Mr. Thiel says college has gotten a lot more expensive than when he attended school 25 years ago. You now have people graduating with $250,000 worth of debt, and they end up having to spend years or decades paying the debt off. The Obama administration is pushing college. It says over the next 10 years, nearly half of all new jobs will require more than a high school education. But Peter Thiel says many young people choose college for the wrong reasons. Talented, high school, what do? You go to college. Good in college, what do? You go to law school. Higher education becomes almost this way for not thinking and avoiding thinking about what you're going to do with your life. He says the young people he is investing in will, at the very least, gain experience to take back to school if that is what they decide to do. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Technology Report. Each year, Americans throw away millions of tons of electronic devices. That means business is good for a small electronics recycler in Chantilly, Virginia. Company president Jeremy Faber established PC Recycler. He spoke to us from the floor of his company's processing center. Workers were busy taking apart televisions, cell phones, and computers, anything electronic. Jeremy Faber says the flow of discarded electronics is only increasing. He says electronics recycling is the fastest growing waste stream in the United States right now. Recycling electronic waste is not a single job. Newer devices can be rebuilt and resold. Breaking down electronics into small parts for refiners to melt and purify is another part. Operations Manager Andrew Porter says computer circuit boards are rich resources for metals, including gold. Gold now sells for more than $1,300 an ounce. 25% of PC Recycler's sales come from selling parts to refiners. Refining companies pay more than $10 a kilogram for computer boards. PC Recycler can also increase profits by holding metal-rich parts until prices rise. Computers also hold private or secret information, and securing that data is the fastest growing part of the recycling business. Completely removing data from a computer hard drive is not easy. PC Recycler can remove data magnetically or completely destroy and recycle the drives. Discarding waste in a way that meets government environmental protection rules is also important. Old TVs can contain over a kilogram of lead, as well as cadmium, both highly poisonous. PC Recycler supports the Basel Action Network, which seeks to limit harmful waste and technology. The company says it does not export electronics to China, India, or Africa, where environmental rules are weak. Jeremy Faber says PC Recycler has been in business since 2003, expanding from waste management to other, more technical services. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can go to voaspecialenglish.com and click on the classroom to explore our new English teaching activities. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook at VOA Learning English.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Computer makers are working on ways to persuade people to buy personal computers. Companies at the recent Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas talked about new developments like touch computers or laptops that turn into tablets. The chip manufacturer Intel made a surprise announcement at the show. Mike Fard says his company is taking steps to reduce power requirements on some processors. He says Intel is constantly trying to provide more battery life. Yet, sales of PCs are slow. Research company IDC reported that worldwide sales of PCs dropped 14% in the first 3 months of 2013. The company said this was the worst drop since it started collecting information in 1994. One possible reason for the slow sales is the rise of tablet computers, such as Apple's iPad. Intel and its competitors have sought to improve sales by offering new products. These include the Ultrabook, a thin, lightweight notebook computer which came out in 2011. But they have not lifted sales. Industry experts are also concerned about reaction to Microsoft's Windows 8 operating system. It was released last October. Bob O'Donnell, an IDC vice president, said the Windows 8 launch not only failed to increase PC sales, but seemed to have slowed the market. He has criticized the company for making radical changes, such as removing the Start button from the operating system. Windows Corporate Vice President Julie Larson Green announced this month that Microsoft will release a Windows 8 update. She expects the first public preview of the update to take place in June. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Diarrhea kills 1.5 million children each year. 1 in 5 child deaths worldwide. The only disease that kills more children under age 5 is pneumonia. Experts say diarrhea causes more child deaths than AIDS, malaria, and measles combined. New findings show it also kills more than 1 million adolescents and elderly people every year. Therese Dooley is a senior advisor at UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund. She says in addition to the deaths, there are about 2.5 billion cases of diarrhea among children every year. But a new report says 60% of those in developing countries do not get the recommended treatment. The report, appearing in the Lancet Medical Journal, is from UNICEF and the World Health Organization. It includes a 7-point plan for countries to use to prevent and treat diarrhea. The condition causes fluid loss and reduces the body's supply of zinc. This mineral is needed for normal growth and development. For the past 5 years, UNICEF and the WHO have recommended zinc supplements to treat diarrhea. They also recommend fluid replacement solutions made from what are called low osmolarity oral rehydration salts. Yet zinc supplements remain largely unavailable in the developing world. And the fluid replacement solutions can also be difficult to find. A leading cause of diarrhea in children is the rotavirus. Public health officials are now advised to include the rotavirus vaccine in all national immunization programs. But the vaccine is still not available in many developing countries. The report says new ways to expand the use of treatments are now being developed. Proposals include, for example, supplying treatment kits through community health workers or special campaigns. Experts say children with diarrhea should continue to eat and babies should continue to breastfeed. To help prevent diarrhea, the report suggests that children receive both the rotavirus and measles vaccines. It also calls for improving supplies of clean water in developing countries. Another prevention measure is hand washing with soap. Diarrhea can be easy to prevent. Campaigns to fight childhood diarrhea had some success during the 1970s and 80s. The authors of the report hope this new plan will help return the issue to worldwide importance. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report in Special English. The United States Environmental Protection Agency says there is a problem with America's garbage. Only 7% of plastic waste in the United States is recycled each year. JBI, a new company in northern New York, says it can increase that percentage and, at the same time, reduce America's dependence on foreign oil. How? The answer may surprise you. JBI has a machine it calls the Plastic Eating Monster. Every hour, thousands of kilograms of waste milk jugs, water bottles, and grocery bags from landfills across the country are fed into the machine. John Bordnick, who runs the company, invented a new process for turning plastic into fuel by melting all these different kinds of plastics together. John Bordnick says the plastics are melted down into a black liquid. Then he uses a special chemical to turn the fluid into a vapor. This reduces the plastic to its most basic elements. These basic elements have a very high fuel value. JBI produces several thousand liters of fuel a day. It creates different grades of fuel for different industries, and it sells the fuel for up to $100 a barrel. JBI is in a good position because each barrel only costs about $10 to produce. John Bordnick believes plastics will become an important source of fuel for the United States. He says this will reduce the country's dependence on foreign oil and reduce the amount of plastic waste in its landfills. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Prasuti.
This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Americans bought an estimated 18.5 million bicycles last year. Some bikes never got much riding. Mostly they gather dust. But a project based in Washington is putting unwanted bikes from the United States to good use in developing countries. Keith Oberg is the director of Bikes for the World. He says everybody has an old bicycle, and it is usually not ridden. It sits there in the garage or basement or shed, going to waste. Stephen Popick recently had 2 bikes to donate. He brought in 2 mountain bikes that he and his wife rode for the past 10 years. He said they would not be worth trying to sell, but they could be useful to somebody else. Bikes for the World collects bicycles and delivers them at low cost to community programs in developing countries. It shipped more than 5,000 bikes during the first 8 months of this year. Last year, it shipped about 10,300. The bicycle recycling program is one of the largest in the United States. It is a sponsored project of the Washington Area Bicyclist Association. Bikes for the World began in 2005. Since then, it has shipped more than 40,000 bikes to communities in Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean, says Director Keith Oberg. He said they are working with partners in 7 countries. They have sent bikes to Namibia and the Gambia. In Central America, they sent bikes to Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Guatemala. And they are talking to 2 organizations in El Salvador. Bikes for the World partners with nonprofit groups in the United States to collect unwanted bikes. Then it works with nonprofits in the other countries to get the bikes to organizations and individuals that need them the most. For example, the Bicycle Empowerment Network, Namibia, uses the bikes to provide transportation for health workers. That makes it possible for them to visit more patients each day. The organization also has bicycle ambulance services to transport the sick. The Bicycle Empowerment Network also provides training and support to help local organizations and individuals open bike shops of their own. The businesses sell the recycled bikes at low cost and provide repair services. Many of the organizations use the money they earn to help pay for other community projects. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report.
I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Development Report. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has announced a plan to get cleaner burning cooking stoves into developing countries. The plan aims to reduce deaths caused by smoke from the traditional use of solid fuels and open fires. Almost half the world's people breathe smoke from coal and biomass fuels like wood, dung, and crop waste. The smoke can lead to lung cancer, heart disease, low birth weight, and other problems. It also increases the risk of pneumonia, a leading cause of death in young children. Women and children are most at risk because they spend the most time in the kitchen. Also, in areas of conflict, the search for fuel puts women at increased risk of violence. The goal of the Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves is 100 million homes using safer cook stoves and fuels by the year 2020. Secretary Clinton said that clean stoves could make as big a difference in the world as bed nets or vaccines. She said, "The World Health Organization considers smoke from dirty stoves to be one of the 5 most serious health risks that face people in poor developing countries. Nearly 2 million people die from its effects each year, more than twice the number from malaria. And because the smoke contains greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane, as well as black carbon, it contributes to climate change." Founding partners in the alliance include governments and United Nations agencies, nonprofit groups, and the energy company Shell. The alliance hopes to raise at least $250 million within 10 years. The United States has promised to donate more than $50 million over the next 5 years. The aim is to create a strong global market for clean cook stoves. The alliance will identify target markets and work to get women involved in business operations. It will also develop indoor air quality guidelines, test clean stoves and fuels, and develop research roadmaps. The United States Environmental Protection Agency has donated $6 million towards the effort. EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson says the problem of cook stove pollution is really an issue of poverty. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can read and listen to our programs and learn more about projects in the developing world at voaspecialenglish.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. On May 20th, a tornado brought death and destruction to the American community of Moore, Oklahoma. The tornado had wind speeds of up to 400 kilometers an hour. 24 people died when the storm cut through the city. People had only 15 minutes to react to warnings.
Some fled more or took refuge in the most secure area of their home. The lucky ones took cover in underground shelters or steel and concrete structures called safe rooms. Leslie Chapman Henderson is head of a nonprofit group called the Federal Alliance for Safe Homes. She is a big supporter of tornado-safe rooms. She says they can help reduce the number of tornado deaths. A safe room is built to resist high winds and flying wreckage. Sky Strohal survived the tornado in Moore. He watched as it moved in his direction. He and a friend ran to a neighbor's underground shelter only minutes before the storm struck. Better methods for predicting storms give people like Sky Strohal and his friend more time. But they need someplace safe to go. Structures can be built to resist strong winds, but not all structures may be able to resist a tornado as strong as the one that hit Moore. It was rated F5, the highest possible rating. Moore lies in an area of the United States called Tornado Alley. Powerful storm systems are common. The tornado in May was the fourth to strike the city in 14 years. Moore's mayor is pushing for laws requiring safe rooms in all new buildings. Similar proposals followed other tornado strikes, but no laws were passed. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.